A most warm welcome to all of you. I'm about to hand over to Jean Parker, who does her usually fantastic job in moderating this session. Just for those who are not familiar with these calls, basically these are opportunities to get in touch with some of the speakers of the annual conference. Where usually the speakers offer an introduction or are interviewed with a few questions, and then we open the room and all of us are very free to go deeper, understand, ask questions to the speakers, provide ideas. So it's a very open forum. They're both from Costa Rica. So that's a beautiful country. It's supposed to be one of the happiest countries of the world. And they're co-founders of Optimo, this very interesting company he talked to us about. And his experience, as you can see, has been in energy management, education technology. So quite a variety of things. And education, I think, is a very important part of what this company also aims to achieve. And he founded the company in 1977. So talk about innovation. How do you keep innovating from 1977 onwards? That's probably a good question to ask. And Carlos is the other founder of Optimo. He's a national of Costa Rica. And I love psychologists. Psychologists are always the best people to have on a team because they really understand, go deep and understand how you can actually change, understand mindset and so forth. And on top of the master, he also has experiences with the ILO. So it's great that he puts his experience not just in his company, but also in a wider kind of prospect. And I actually saw one of his talks at the Universidad de Costa Rica. And I was just hooked when I heard him speak and present. It was just so interesting, the kind of slant and the angle that he offered the students and how quickly the students actually understood what he was talking about. So very welcome to both of you. And I'm about to hand over now to Jean. Jean Parker is amazing. We're just blessed to have Jean on the team. She's she's the person actually that created the Discovering How podcast. She's a professional journalist. She has a history that spans many countries, many continents. She's definitely a traveler, a very curious person, and a fascinating individual that we're very happy to have on this call to facilitate this session with us.
Well, hopefully Jose and Carlos's face will appear. They're the ones that have the important things to say. Jose and Carlos, the first thing to orient us as the listeners to this is, could you describe your company for us and describe it in the context of how you combine the spiritual and the material? And I realize that the answer to that question could take all day, but we have a lot of other discussion items for you as well.
Thank you for the opportunity to share how to reconcile spirituality and materialism. For the last 7 years in our company, we've been trying to decipher how to make sure the use of the spiritual or universal principles in how we manage the company and how we do business and how we relate to others. And it's been a really interesting experience. I just wanted to add that our company was founded by my father in 1977. He worked many years for IBM. So our company has always been related to technology and information. And now in the last 20 years, we have focused on educational technology, energy-related products, and also in digital printing. We have 65 employees. We try to see everything as a whole, as a one thing. When we talk about the principles, we're just very aware all the time that we apply the principles every day in everything we do.
Well, perhaps we can get into some specific examples a little later on about specific principles that you find the most helpful. But before we do that, I'm really curious to know what prompted the change. Was there a particular event or an occurrence that took place that prompted it, or was it a slower, more gradual emergence or realization that things could change?
Everything we are going to share in this space is product of our experience transforming ES Corporation in a social enterprise. When I started working with Jose 8 years ago, we were focused on the usual things. We are focused on the traditional objective of the companies, results. This is another way to say money. So everything was running slow, but in the right way. was a clean and traditional improvement process. But in a moment, Jose decided to buy the company from his siblings. So I think that's the key moment. And everything changed when, in the middle of the valuation process, one question emerged: how to build a company that mimics the owner. So as simple and complex at the same time. So where to start? We thought at that moment, well, from inside the owner, which means to dig into their mind and spirit to discover what makes up an integral human being, not just an entrepreneur, just a human, a member of a community and part of many circles, in order to explain why money is not enough, why money is not enough for Jose. So why money was not enough at that moment and is not enough at this moment. Because we think what a person needs and expects goes beyond material goods. Is related also with a diverse set of spiritual and cognitive elements, all conceived today as soft and in a way optional. That's obviously is a problem at this moment. A pejorative conception in a liquid modernity where satisfaction is a temporary experience and the real deal is in the journey. So eliminating the gap implicit in the conception of the well-being as something hard or soft, individual or collective, real or perceived in a way optional, we think is the biggest obstacle to get over to transform a traditional entrepreneur into a social entrepreneur. And by social, it is important, we are not meaning giving away things or favors that someone with extra money give away willingly to the poor or to an unlucky person, institution, or community. By social entrepreneur, we mean a person who has reached social level of social awareness and his company's social level of material wealth and management capacity, that he decides to undertake economic, social, and environmentally profitable initiative, guided by the genuine interest of serving and generating well-being for as many people as possible. So at that moment, we discovered our first learning, that transforming an organization should be initiated only if the owner has a robust, strong life purpose that provides enough sense and energy to overcome the obstacles. That's the basic ingredient to become from a good intention to a new business enterprise.
I want to go back to the process that you just now began talking about and to really take a much more in-depth look at that. But before we do that, I would like to know if you're able to influence your ecosystem in the form of clients or other people that you work with, move both the discourse and the work itself, moving away from the material and bringing forward the spiritual, more people-oriented elements of the work that you do.
Yeah, I think that when your true purpose is to serve others, to create well-being, your relationship with others changes. Just to give you an example, when we started, we obviously made the firm decision that we would not, in businesses, require paying bribes, for example. At one point, we were in the process of importing some products, and one of the people at the
customs,
this man tried to change the rules and said that we would have to pay more taxes because there was a little change in the product. And it would be very easy to give them, it was like something like $50. So immediately we told them that we would not do that, and that we would even be willing to lose several $1,000s just to give him a lesson, and that we wouldn't agree with that. And so for 2 months, we had to go through the whole process. But it was a very interesting process because these products were, some clients were waiting for it. We asked some of our other clients if they could help us and lend some stock that they had so that we could cover the rest of our compromises. And then somehow we were able to solve the problem. And that happened, I think it was like 5 years ago. And the result has been that we have never had any more problems like that anymore.
Another key element is that company speech is about an integral benefit. We are trying to educate our sales force to promote our company as a whole, not just the product, not the printer or the laptop. So in that way, we hope that the speech of our own people could impact our clients and supporters and providers and community, that we are a different kind of company. That's the idea. So we are trying to be consistent, and we're trying to be completely focused on well-being. So the idea is that they see us as transparent, as consistent, as a member, a key member of the community, not just a company focused on money or something.
I would add that we learned that we need to build relationships and not just buy and sell things. The last few years have been very interesting because we've come to sign agreements with many institutions that before were considered clients, and now we're considered partners.
And does that also include competitors?
Yeah. In fact, there is a key competitor that has mimicas. Yeah, because there is started to talk in terms of well-being and esteem and this kind of things that we are included in our offer. So they are just a printer company that from 1 year ago they started to talk like us. That's I think that's fine. We are both talking about well-being and other integral things. But yeah, we think we are making an impact in our competitors.
What have been the struggles? You talked about the ethical complications dealing with imports and people who may not have the best intentions in mind. What have been other struggles that you have had that perhaps people can learn from if they're interested in doing the same thing?
Some of the challenges that we had from the beginning, first was communicating our vision, what we wanted to do, what we wanted to accomplish. So we had many meetings, many general meetings where we shared that this is what we wanted to do. It's kind of a surprise, but in a way it makes sense that everybody agrees with the principle.
That was your employees and other people in your company?
Yeah. Other challenges is getting people really to participate actively in what we're doing, because the principles have to be applied by everyone. It's not enough that one person says that the company is going to be living by these principles if the rest of the people don't apply them. And also something that you wouldn't expect, you will probably have some people who will not be too happy to change, because somehow some people do.
That's our managers, mainly. we had 8 managers at that moment, and those are not very happy with the process.
People are used to the same structure, and to have that hierarchy that is common in companies. You have to give up some of that power that people are used to. So you will have some resistance.
Sometimes it's a lack of capacity, sometimes it's resentidos, they have some resentments. But in the case of managers, in fact, now we don't have managers. We realize that what we need is team and process leaders. So in order to make the change, what we need is leaders in every process, in every side of the company. So the managers tend to protect the space, the turf, the area they are usually serving, and they tend to serve from others, not to serve others. In some way of the culture the company had, they tend only to comply with the owners. They tend to do the knowing things, even if they know those are wrong. The change and the innovation process was something, I think, very hard for them to process.
How long did the whole process take, or is it an ongoing process?
And we knew from the beginning that it's a process that never ends. You're always trying to close the gap, but you're never going to be 100%. What we're actually doing now is that we have a group of 6 people which consults constantly about issues related to the whole company. So instead of having those managers, now we have a consultative, you could say, body or group. Before, I would, as an owner, I would have the responsibility to make the decisions. Now I can blame Carlos if something goes wrong. Or somebody else.
I want to add
that must be a great relief.
Yeah, but that I think is the key ingredient that a company needs in order to change. If the owner is not willing to share responsibility, to share value, to accept that he knows nothing or not everything, I think is the key element, because the people follow examples. People follow a consistent person. It is a kind of magic. The profits, even we are selling less, we are gaining more money. We are having better economic indexes. So we have a more healthy company at this moment.
In the chat, there's one question from Wilfred, who's asking if you can elaborate a bit more on this, on the leadership process of making this change happen. So you just now mentioned the example, leading by example. If there's any other actions the leader took or the leadership took to create this manager-less, to shift to this manager-less structure.
Reflecting about social action, for instance, we use some Baha'i material, and we were having these sessions with them, with the management team, and with the second level of management team. And it was interesting because all of them accept that was okay, it's perfect. But at the end, nobody really understood the key point, or nobody at the end decided to make the step and to change their place in the company and to start thinking about their own interest and in the company interest, try to build a different company, not just a printer company, but a social company as a whole.
Yeah, from that first group, I think there are only 2 left.
There were around 20 people. It was a lot of people.
Yeah, not everybody stays.
No.
It's a big change, and it requires a bit of detachment and compromise. If in the end you just want to keep making money and giving orders, then if that's what you want to do, well, you will have to find another place to do it, because that's not how it's going to work here.
But we found some people that think that that's it. This is a private company, and what we just do is to make money. So pay me more, make more money, pay me more to me. That's the basic element, and that people is. We do everything we can in order to change the mindset, but at the end they have to leave.
We see our company now as a whole, as a social enterprise. We don't make differences. We feel that if a company has a department that deals with social responsibility, then something's wrong. They're trying to fix something that is not right. So for us, the company has to be socially responsible as a whole, always. And what we use for that is the concept of value. The company has to always create value without destroying value in the process. At the core, we have the commercial side, which we always need because we want this to be a sustainable enterprise. And so the core company provides the resources to the other projects, to the other companies, for as long as that company needs support. Now with Optimo is its own company. Then we have other new company which called the Corona Dorada, Golden Crown. And so this was conceived from the beginning as a social enterprise. So the core business has been providing the resources for this company to begin its process. We think that in about a year and a half, Corona Dorada will be able to be self-sustainable. A new company or a new enterprise comes up, a new idea, we will do the same. We will provide the resources, and not only financial resources, but also human resources. We have a lawyer, we have an accountant, we have an engineer, somebody in logistics. So what we do is that we use those resources in order to help those enterprises.
The idea is to maximize the value of and the use of resources. A resource, it means a person or money, should provide enough value to support the whole chain. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, Corona Dorada is, we are expecting to impact at least 100 families. Yes, in the rural area. It's a honeybee, is in the honeybee industry. The interesting thing is when we talk about this project, our project, what we believe, many people like that. Many people try to connect us. So, for instance, we are trying to do business with companies like Starbucks or Chick-fil-A, etc. We don't think ourselves as little. We think we are really, really big. We have a message to give, and we have a mission, a purpose, and we have to take our message and to plant the seed we want to see in the future as our transcendent element.
I was just interested in your approach with team leaders and process leaders versus managers. And how does that work? I mean, I've seen in some organizations where team leaders report to managers. So in fact, it wouldn't change much. But yeah, if you could just comment on that.
That's interesting. In our case, we don't have managers. So
okay.
we are an ISO 19 certified company. Our process very well detailed. So the idea is that everybody has the resources and the responsibility and the opportunity to do their job. So we don't need, at least in our company, we don't need managers that tell them what to do their job. So what they have to do is do it. So in our experience, people do their jobs without the influence of a manager.
Yes, I assume that this kind of shift in the organization is not happening without a culture that's shifting and changing. So my question would be, how did you drive the change, the culture change, how people were engaged, what tools, what did you use to work around the culture change?
I think that the key element is to work by example.
Yeah. To be consistent.
We decided that if we wanted people to consult, then we needed to consult. We can't read about consultation anymore. We have to do it. We have to actually do it. Because consulting is not that easy. You have to be detached. You have to deal with some mental models. So what we did was we started consulting as often as we could. So now you see that people meet and resolve the problems without us having to tell them to do it that way. And in the previous generation, because that's how it used to be, my dad was the one who decided when a meeting would take place. And that's okay, because that's how things worked some years ago. But now it's completely different. People feel the freedom to meet and to resolve issues.
And it is important to leave people to make mistakes. That's okay, because if you don't let them to make mistakes, they're not going to learn anything.
We are a learning institution. or organization, that we're always learning. So if somebody comes and is worried about how to do things, we say, don't worry, just do it and we'll learn in the process. That's also good for us because we can say, we don't know what's going to happen. So we need to try. And then as we go along, we learn, we reflect, and then we improve. So there is no way to miss or to make a mistake if you do it that way.
So we don't hide the mistakes, so we don't hide the bad consequences, bad decisions. We try to be transparent.
So I have a question in that direction. It was a little bit elaborated, but how important is the leadership of both of you for the further growth of the development of the organization? Is it still possible that you step back and that other people take the lead in developing the organization?
Yeah, sure. We have what we're doing is, for example, in this new company, it's we have a new member, which is Emmanuel, very young compared to us. He's 25. He's the bee expert. He's the one who knows everything about honey production. We let him make decisions and we let him do his job. And so we're kind of just always trying to accompany him and work with him.
We like to think ourselves as a think tank. It's a kind of place where everything is possible. So we like to think, we want to change the world and we think it's possible. And we like to think ourselves as an agent of change. So if we put the palanca, we are going to move the world. So we believe that. So what we're trying is to connect with people who believe that also. And it's interesting because we are connected with different institutions, different people that add some valuable capacities to our company, to our ES corporation, or Optimo, or Cadena Dorada. They like to use the connection to produce more value.
Thank you very much. In any organizational life and community life, there are always going to be competing interests which cause conflict. So within your organization, and what measures do you use, or what spiritual principles that you apply?
Yeah, this is interesting because one of the things that we realized from the beginning was that companies deal with this issue of everybody trying to find benefit because companies usually don't work as a community. So the owners have their own agenda, the employees have their own agenda, and they're usually very careful with each other. They don't trust each other. So what we did was that we explained that we wanted to develop or work towards the well-being of everybody. So we needed everybody's help. So basically, if you're able to focus everybody's efforts on one goal, then you get rid of that competing environment. The reality is not that you get rid of it completely, because we do have to deal with issues, but we work with them, because in the end, we need for them to understand that we can't sacrifice the whole organization for a single person's interest. But we try to work and consult and give the space for people to understand the role.
We are all learning here. It's interesting because in these new companies, we don't have things like job description and things like that. We tend to think that we enrich our job every day. So we don't have labels. We encourage our employees in the new company to present themselves as they want. It's like to present themselves as managers or as directors or as investigators. The idea is that they feel empowered and they feel that they have the responsibility, the accountability to contribute to the project as a whole. Not everybody likes to function in this kind of new age company, but at the end is the best because the results confirm that that's the best way to manage a company.
What do you have to say about, so I can't remember your name, but Leading Visions is the person that's writing from, and she asked for a case study of yours. Do you have any news for her?
I do have a case study written that we used at a course very recently.
Thank you. Do you think you could share it with us sometime?
Jean, do you want to, we have 4 minutes left.
Well, Daniel, you had a question earlier when we were talking before everyone came on that I think is really interesting, and that is, how did you guys meet?
Yes.
What was
I think, in 2011, he was hired for as a consultant. And then when I got the chance to take over the company, then I approached him. We knew we had already been working for a year. And so I explained what I wanted to do. And since then, we've been working towards that same objective.
We see things in the same way, but in a different way. We have some confidence level that we can share things, we can share thoughts, and we can say each other the things we really think. And at the end, that produces value. This is part of the learning process. At the end, we share beliefs. I'm not a Baha'i member of the community, but I think like a Baha'i. I like to see myself as in that way. I share all the values and principles. I have changed a lot. We are in the moment, a key moment that we are producing new companies, new opportunities. It's incredible for me, and it's a very good opportunity to maximize the use of resources to produce more and more value, social, environmental, and economic.
Well, that would be my other question. What happens next? What's the next thing you're going to do?
We have so many things on the table that something new has to happen. We have many projects. We have met new people, new companies. So it's a very exciting moment. We hopefully will have many new things to share.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and for spending your time with us for the last hour. It's been really enlightening. I hope that I've certainly learned a lot. I really like these tangible examples, these concrete examples of how people are putting these principles to work. So I want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Jean, for hosting this so well. Jose y Carlos, nos vemos pronto. A real pleasure. Thank you for the inspiration. Thank you for all your questions, and look forward to creating more meaningful organizations soon. Thanks for your inspiration.